Welcome back to the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike, and I'm coming at you with a video about vintage Star Wars figures and Hasbro's vintage collection coming out in 2018. So, I'll give you kind of a recap of what they've done with the line and where I think it should go. And with it starting up in 2018 again, theoretically, what I think they really should do with it. So, one thing they've done is this they put out some new figures that we didn't have in the past on vintage style cards. So this guy here was in the first Star Wars movie. We didn't have him in the vintage line, so we have him in a vintage card. I thought that was sort of cool, but I think what everybody really clamored at was trying to get the original 96, and depending on who you're talking to, there's up to 105 if you're looking at variants and all that stuff. But we'll go with the 92s on the card back. But R2D2 and C3PO each have their own alternate versions that are enough of a variant to be completely different figures, removable limbs and all that stuff. So we'll go with the 96, which really puts it in there being completely different. So here's one. This is an R5D4 that is just an upgraded version with a vintage style card bag. Now, the back of the card, I think, I'm not a fan of these. And when we get a little bit further down the line, I'm going to show you what they should do with it. But R5D4, I was really pleased to get this one. Now I actually have, I have actually one example of each figure carded on the vintage card backs. But if you don't, this is an excellent little fill-in there until you actually get what you're looking for. So they're selling them. They're going to be selling them for uh, $13 a piece, like $12.99 or something. And when they first started this whole um, thing, it was actually in the Saga line, and the Saga ones had a clamshell, a really nice clamshell that fit the figures perfect, and it was only $9.99. It was $10, and you catch those on sale for as cheap as two on clearances at Walmart. This is probably not the best example here of a card back, but here's one of mine. And then, so what they would do, then they went to putting them out without the clamshell, still charging $10 during a time when you had other figures on the shelf for 6. So nowadays you have other figures on the shelf for like 7, and they're going to be charging $13 for these, and they're only doing it because they can. You act like this picture is that hard of a deal. They're going to try to say that, well, these days the real estate is more expensive on the aisle. It's like you have to fight for the real estate. So the retailers try to make you put their figures out on smaller card backs instead of the 6x9s. But in the end, they can still deliver it for about a $6 price point. Everybody can make some money. Collection can be happy. So I'm really disappointed in that one. I did like the fact that we never got a Slave Leia back in the day, and we have her now. Just think that was a kind of a cool addition to the collection. R2D2. I don't like the fact that they went and included accessories because you're 18th R2D2 or whatever. So I got that one in there. So what should they do different? Uh, well, I've shown you the Star Wars and some of the Jedi ones, but they do the expanded universe, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. So they're throwing some prequels in there. So what they're going to do next year is they're going to throw in some Last Jedi, some of the other ones from the other movies, and they're going to put them in the vintage style collection. They already showed Rey, so you're going to have Rey in there, and it's really not something I'm into. I think it's kind of cool to do maybe one wave with maybe 4 or 6 figures, but I think the problem was that that's what clogged up the shelves and really killed distribution last time, and it'll probably happen again this time. And I hope they do away with that. So don't put out a million figures from the new movies that nobody cares about when the collectors are after original trilogy stuff, and then that never gets out. You have to resort to online retailers and buying full cases for that. I remember this guy was pretty popular, which I thought was extremely funny that collectors were getting all excited about the Gamorrean Guard, and he's probably one of the cheapest vintage figures you can find. So I mean, I've got probably 6 of this guy in vintage, and it's just funny. But I'm going to use this for my example since it's readily available for the card backs. So they went to this numbering system where you can see VC21, and oh, let's collect them all by getting the numbers of them, and you see, I guess, wave mates or whichever ones they want to sell you. But a vintage card back looks like this. I mean, as we all know. Really think they need to get back to that. I think they need to decide we're going to make 100 figures or 77 figures or 96 figures in this wave and put them all on one card back and just make it an homage to when we were kids and let our kids have a shot at that. And that'd be a lot more fun. So I think that's a missed opportunity with the card backs. The other thing that I think is just really wrong is how they did not do the coins, which it's not that that costs so much more. It wasn't costing them 8 cents more per figure. I mean, they're already charging 13. Well, they're making like $12 a figure on these. So it's killer that they won't do the Power of the Force line, which is funny and ironic because they came out calling them Power of the Force in 1995, Power of the Force 2, which was kind of a slap in the face to people who really collected Star Wars at the time. So what should they put out? Should they just do rehashes? I really think they should start fresh, and they either do the whole 96 for the original or just pick the ones they're going to do, definitely need to finish up the last 96. We need Yak Face for sure. He hasn't had an update the figures that they haven't updated. Whichever ones they haven't done already on a vintage style card bag, do those. And pick a finite amount and stick with it. And let's not just have this thing go forever with a bunch of characters that nobody really cares about. Now, something like this. Now, Malgus is cool, but I don't think they should do it again. There's enough of him out there. He's not too ridiculously expensive. But really, that's not their factor. They don't factor that in at all, the secondary market. They don't care about that. So I think that they should start fresh, not do rehashes. I really like the Jango Fett. That was one of my favorites. This is my favorite version of Jango Fett, and I really like the card back. I don't really care for the prequels too much, but Jango Fett's one of the best things that came out of it. But if you're already a Boba Fett lover, it's really hard to not like Jango Fett. So the other point I want to talk about is if they've already released the figure at Walmart. So that's a touchy subject. If you release the figure at Walmart and the exclusive that they had in a 3.75 inch line, and everybody really wanted those figures on this card back. So that's really a tough one. So if you wasted your money buying the Walmart version in the ridiculous nonsense packaging that they put it out in, instead of the packaging it should have been, then you're just sitting here with a worthless figure that you can do nothing with because you don't have the right card back. And so it's a tough one. I mean, there's figures that they put out that I'd like to see on Star Wars or actual vintage style card backs. So those would be ones I would include as a repack, just simply because that whole Walmart's great. I don't know why we couldn't have just done it the right way from get-go. I don't know if it's their fault or Hasbro's. Next thing I want to point out, it just seems like Hasbro's been focused too heavily on their 6-inch lately, and so really wanting them to up their focus on the 3 3/4 inch because that's really where it should be. That's really what made Star Wars toys what they are today. Here are some examples. This poor light. That's better. Here's some examples of some of the figures that they should be remaking if they haven't already. And wouldn't it be awesome to see a Vinyl Cape Jawa in this? Anyway, what are your ideas? I would do more of the vintage collection. I have most of those. So like, subscribe, leave in the comments if you want to see my whole vintage collection. That would take me about a day to get it all out. Tydirium Hanger out.